It's exactly 11 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM. We're attempted to play you their kickoff of SAFA VP, the South African Football Association's Vice President Bernard Bailey, when he kicks back at forensic investigator Bart Henderson. Bart Henderson has released a 40-page document. I've seen it. I've studied it through the weekend, where he's accusing the South African Football Association of having embezzled and spent hundreds of millions of money, and the main finger they're waggling at Danny Jordan, the president of the South African Football Association. We'll have Bart Henderson here. He compiled that document, and in that document, it's explosive. It is explosive, pointing fingers at money that was given to the South African Football Association by FIFA. Do you remember that money, right? The legacy fund money. Where has it gone? The buildings that have been purchased, the different things that have been purchased, and the inflation, where he says, hey, something that was supposed to be bought for 10 million is listed at SAFA when you go there at 30 million. Where's the 20 million in the middle? The SAFA executives and NEC members that are getting money left, right, and center for absolutely no reason, listed as loans. We're going to get into that a little bit later on at 12 of the hour 6. Welcome to it. It is the Mighty Metro FM, and this is Sports That Amplified with Andile. A lot to talk about. Verstappen winning the British Grand Prix. If you ask me, I think Hamilton is on his way out of Mercedes. He has to be. It is the only way that he will compete and get number 8. Du Plessis in the UFC. My goodness. We finally get the fight against Adesanya, don't we? We finally get it. South Africans, we're getting the fight against the best right now. So I'm excited about that as well. So you can give us your comments on anything from the weekend on 086 000 2160, WhatsApp on 060 552 7303. The Springboks over the weekend as well. What a lovely game, wasn't it? The international window or season rather has begun. You know, I enjoy the Springboks. I love it. I'll never go to the stadium because I don't want that sort of mood ruining my day. Do me a favor the next time the Springboks are performing in South Africa and the crowd is as full as it was there. Listen to the national anthem being sung. It was Nosipo, the lady that led it. You can hear her voice when it starts singing Xhosa. You can hear her voice when it kicks into Tswana. You cannot hear her voice as soon as it goes into the Afrikaans and English. Do you know why?
Loftus.
Because they erupt, and that's when the South Africans that watch rugby start to sing. That's when they start to sing.
Yeah, I think the Loftus factor as well.
No, okay. So I don't even I don't want to ruin my life.
No, I'm just saying the Loftus factor. There's a reason I'm saying Loftus.
That's the voice of Velile Myandu, who's our journalist guest today. And what he's going to be talking about is Billiat. Kaizer Chiefs releasing a statement on Friday, was it? Saying, hey,
Saturday, yeah.
On Saturday, saying, Billiat, he has gone AWOL. We don't know where he is. So we'll be giving you details on why it is that Billiat has decided to ignore the calls of Kaizer Chiefs over the contract negotiation. But also, he'll be talking to us about a lot more than that. The signing of Potsane, who joins Kaizer Chiefs. And what does this say about Royal AM, of course, who can't sign players due to a FIFA ban at the moment. We'll speak a little bit as well about Mamelodi Sundowns signing Lucas Ribeiro. SAFA taking the forensic auditor Bart Henderson to court. They're saying to him, hey, you've released this document, 40 pages of all these accusations about money and how Dr. Jordan and his entire NEC and all those around him have done with this money. We're taking you to court because we don't believe you. So we said, hey, let's get Bart Henderson on. So at 5:30, we kick in and we speak to the man himself who's compiled this document that is so explosive that is seeing charges now, rising against the SAFA president, Dr. Jenny Jordan. It's 15 of the hour 6. Let's take a break. When we come back, Velile Myandu, Billiat, where is he? The weekend that was on Sports That Amplified with Andile and the Mighty Metro FM. Hey, to everybody watching this show, we've dressed very warmly in the studio. Everybody watching now, you'll see that Zipolo next up the studio. It's live on Facebook at SABC Sport. Then you're able to catch the show live and in person. And you can see Mr. Myandu, who's our journalist, joining us today. And of course, you can catch him a little bit later on Soccer Zone. The principal and what's the other guy's name? Super Journo. They're back in weeks when the football is open. Right now, though, it's Velile's turn. Velile, welcome, man. Let's start straight into it. I mean, it's that busy time, isn't it? When teams are buying, releasing, that sort of thing. Billiat has been the talk of town. But before we go to let's perhaps go to Potsane first. I was surprised to see Potsane leave Royal AM.
I'm not really surprised, especially with this move to Chiefs, and I'm saying this because I feel that if you look at the statement that Chiefs released of Karma, followed shortly or just came just before the confirmation of Potsane. So you can see that there's some communication strategy there in terms of.
What do you mean?
Let's release this one. So and then immediately bring in Potsane, so that Potsane appears to be the replacement of Kama, and also you don't have a lot of questions from the fans. You know.
So you're saying what Chiefs are doing here is good PR work.
Exactly.
They're saying we want to sign Potsane, not necessarily want to keep Kama, but let's show people why we're not keeping Kama. And then is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
No.
But that's how.
Why is Kama not answering the phone calls?
That's how a PR expert.
But why is Kama not answering phone calls? Why is Kama not going to Kaizer Chiefs and negotiating his contract?
I think it's normal during this stage of the season, and I think for me one thing should be clear here, that Kama is not a Kaizer Chiefs player.
What do you mean?
As from the first, because the contract has expired.
Okay.
And
his contract is expired with Chiefs.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And the previous season, I think the option had been exercised. So once that option has been exercised, then it means that he's not a Chiefs player. And you would also understand that for a very long time, Kama has been one of the highest paid players in the league, if not the highest. And if you look at the return on investment in that period, and the Kama that you know at Sundowns, and in terms of the numbers, they were not really talking to the salary.
So he wasn't worth the money that Chiefs were buying him, because Chiefs would have been paying him that much because of how they got him from Sundowns. They didn't have to pay Sundowns for the player.
Exactly. And I think for the past 2 seasons, Chiefs has been on what you would call cost-cutting measures, or trying to at least control the salary bill at the club. And if you're talking about a Kama, a player who, according to the old contract, he's got a salary that could easily pay 3 or 4 players.
Wow.
Then what do you do when you want to balance your books? And you look at the age, and you look at the injuries. If you look at how many games did he play this past season, so what do you do? But also, you know that a fit Kama, you know that what he can do. Because if you forget about this past season and you look at the season before this past season, and you look at his combination with Kick and Dolly in terms of the goals and also the assists, and then you club that together in terms of the direct impact on the goals that were scored, you would see that there you had a very good combination. But now, are you guaranteed that you're gonna get that? And then you now have the Modis.
But what I'm picking up from what you're saying is they weren't really negotiating with Kama, and there's no good faith in it. Also, there's a suggestion in what you're saying that they cut his salary for the new contract?
Yeah, I think because now you are operating on a new contract, you are then open to consider options. And I think it is not just here in the PSL or even only at Chiefs. When a player reaches a certain stage or a certain age, and then there's been a lot of things around, you then have a situation where you are able to try and negotiate a new contract based on the experiences of the past season as well.
So Kama unhappy with the money he's offered and the fact that it's only a year.
Yes, and also there are players where you would want to.
He's 32, Velile.
There are players where you want to negotiate a contract, because also you know that even if you are saying to that player, we're offering you half of what you're getting, there's still maybe only 1 or only 2 clubs that can even meet that half. You understand what I mean? So in this case of Kama, but look, Kama has always been a talent that is not only followed only here at home, but also especially from the Gulf region and also in North Africa as well. And they know that with a fit Kama and also with talent around him that is also almost at the same level, they can get a good return from him. Yeah.
So can we close the chapter on Kama, Billiat and Kaizer Chiefs, you think?
I think if they don't find each other,
Well, they're not finding each other now.
Yeah, especially on.
And he's a free agent as we
yes.
speak. He's not aligned to any club. His contract is done.
Yeah.
He's not a Chiefs player.
Yeah, I just think with transfers, it's not over until
So there's still an opportunity.
Yeah,
there's still
until
a
he
chance.
signs elsewhere, then we can say yeah.
And Royal AM, does this mean they're confident, so confident in that they're going to win this this ruling against FIFA that they've taken now to CAS, that they can release players like Potsane?
Was he contracted? You're
asking me the questions.
Yeah, was because with the way it happened, if you look at the Chiefs, they're not talking about having bought him. And also, I think also with Potsane, one thing we must also say that this is also the first signing under the new Chiefs head coach, Emole Ntseki. And I also know, I understand that Coach Ntseki has always been an admirer of Potsane. So I think we can confidently say it's his first signing, and even in terms of how he wants to play, because also he believes a lot in wing play, which also when you look at Chiefs as well, it's a team that has always been also a wing play team, and then now they have Potsane the side and they have Modi the side, and there's just a lot of options. They also have Mdanzane who can come central and also who can still come from the wing as well.
It's exactly 24 after the hour 6 on the Mighty Metro FM at Sports that are amplified with Andile. Danny Jordan and the entire of the South African Football Association are going to be under, a guillotine hammer really this evening, as we're going to be speaking to Bart Henderson, a forensic investigator. SAFA is taking forensic investigator Bart Henderson that I just spoke about to court over his forensic report, which lays out alleged mismanagement within the organization, with a particular focus on President Danny Jordan and the monies that are moving in and around from the trust, which was set up, of course, as the legacy fund from FIFA, having been here in 2010, and the money that they allocated to SAFA for different things, as well as SAFA itself, and how the money moves between the two accounts goes to some of the executives in one of the most bloated NECs in football, if not in anything really, as far as those numbers are concerned. It's 25 after the hour 6. Remember, you can give us a voice note. Send us a voice note on 060-552-7303. Formula One, Verstappen, who leads the Formula One standings, of course, with 255 points, almost 100 points clear of Perez. The other Red Bull driver, Alonso, in third position, and Hamilton, who finished third and took podium this weekend, coming in fourth there with 121 points. One wonders if he stays at Mercedes, even next season, even with all that they're doing, would he ever be able to challenge the Red Bull? Should he be moving to Ferrari perhaps with a better car and a better driver? Is that what he needs to do in order to take on Verstappen and Perez? One wonders if that's what needs to happen, if that's what we're going to be seeing happening. And of course, there was the UFC as well. South Africa's Du Plessis is going to be taking on Adesanya after having won a brilliant match over the weekend. If you watch that fight there, the Springboks as well out at Loftus. Like I said, I get put off by a lot of different things, but on the field, during the match, what a brilliant match that was. And a lot of us that are watching that are thinking it's going to be a great World Cup for us. It's a nice build-up anyway and a nice beginning. Tennis, Wimbledon as well is currently on, so you can talk to us about that. It's Sports Night Amplified with Andile. I am Andile Ncube. In studio with me, SABC sport journalist Velile Myandu. Velile, very quickly, let's touch on one more here. Stellenbosch, and I said this to the coach, Barker, and I said, Coach Barker, I mean, if you're one that really looks into the DStv Premiership, the richest team by owner, which is the richest team by owner in the DStv Premiership?
Well, according to Forbes, that's Mr. Rupert. That's
so Stellenbosch,
yes,
is the richest team in the league by owner. So I said to him, hey, that means you can sign any and every player there is. And he said, no, our model is a little bit different.
Correct.
And you can see it.
Correct.
Because look at what's happened now.
Yeah. No, I also think the fact that with Stellies, when you look at them, they are run through the Stellenbosch Sports Academy, and how even how they came into the picture. So they are slightly different to a team maybe like Sundowns, where you know that also you've got one of the rich owners richest owners in the country, and also even in terms of their ambitions. So with Stellies, I think from the time they were even promoted, I liken the strategy of, or the model of Stellies to that of Maritzburg
Ajax, Supersport,
yes,
Maritzburg even.
Yes, and also I think for
they're
me,
a selling team.
Yeah, they're a selling team. But if there's a team for me that Free State Stars used to be like that. If you remember the times of DSBC, the way when they sold DSBC, also Ngobo as well, Makula, Matlaba, you look at that. But the key there is that when you release this kind of a player, you need to have a replacement who not necessarily will be at the same level, but at least will give you something where you can build on from that. And I think when you look at their model, they sold last year. They sold 2 players, Konika and Dupree, to Kaizer Chiefs for 13 million, and you see now a reported 12 million for Mendieta, and another good deal also from for Jabbar. And you look at how they got Jabbar through some very good scouting network, having been in Nigeria Junior International before.
It's exactly 6:30. We're going to change tunes here and speak South African Football Association. They've been under the spotlight over the last couple of weeks, 2 weeks or so. But remember, if you want to speak anything the weekend that was, it could be the tennis at Wimbledon, the Springboks over the weekend, the UFC, Duplessis, Verstappen and the F1, you're more than welcome to do so. Velile, before I even put on board, what we've learned about the South African Football Association is that they're struggling for funds. They're struggling for money. Does that make sense to you?
I think it's been there for some time now, for the past few years. It's a pity that they've never wanted to declare it as such, and maybe it was. In fact, I think the last time they even came close to making or doing something better with their books, it was during COVID, and those relief funds coming from FIFA, coming from CAF, kind of cushioned them to come across as if they were making something, and I think they've really been struggling in terms of revenue, either from sponsors. I mean, some of the sponsors have not even been replaced, and I think even also I know that there's been a lot of complaints from their side even about the broadcast money that is not
enough.
It's not enough. And why?
And are you happy with what's happened to the legacy funds from the FIFA World Cup?
I don't think.
Have you seen anything tangible that you can say, look at what the World Cup did?
I think, I was just looking at the new headquarters of the Moroccan Football Federation from this past weekend, and these are the new ones, and I was like, wow, we don't even come close, and I don't understand how we didn't even maybe take just even 50 million or to have something decent.
To say this is the legacy of the World Cup.
I've been to Botswana 3 times in the last 2 months, and their technical center, well, by their standards, I feel that we don't even have something that close.
It's 6:33 on the Mighty Metro FM. Forensic investigator Bart Henderson now joining us. Henderson Solutions Enterprise Risk Management is his company. He's got a report that's currently out. It's 44 pages of a report. It's called Offside, South African Football Association Legacy of Distrust, the 2010 FIFA World Cup Legacy Trust. It's a high-level report labeled strictly confidential and private. We've had our hands on it now, including the PwC, of course, a letter back in 2019 when they decided to resign as the auditors of the South African Football Association and group. The man that compiled it is with us now, Bart Henderson. Bart, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Andile, thank you for having me on the show. Good evening, and good evening to the listeners.
You are a very hated man amongst the South African street. I understand that you've even been taken to court.
It won't be the first time, believe me. I've been doing this for a very long time. Can't make everybody happy, mate.
Well, Bart, you certainly haven't made Dennis Jordan and the South African Football Association happy at all. Your report has come out. We've looked at it, and gee whiz, it spells of mismanagement with the fierce fire of 100 dragons.
People, and that includes SAFA, have been disparaging it and referring it to it as a forensic audit report. It's certainly not a forensic audit report. I was engaged to look at a matter which is related but is unrelated, and in that process, I was just sort of astounded by the number of disparate allegations that had been laid against SAFA, and I looked at this and I thought to myself, what the heck is going on here? So I went off on my own tangent, and I started compiling and condensing all of these disparate allegations and reports that are out of their court records. There's affidavits, there's criminal complaints, a host of stuff. And I basically put it and condensed it into one document and said, this is a picture that is emerging for me. And I'm not even involved in soccer, but I have done some high-level forensic audits for ministerial investigations, a number of them going back over the years. Some of them you can Google. And just as a practitioner, I looked at this picture and I thought to myself, there's something desperately wrong here. Desperately wrong. So I compiled everything in a high-level report, which is what it was, and I sent it off. I sent it off to SAFA and I sent it off to FIFA, asking them questions. It was private and it was confidential. I got no response, and there we go. I decided to go and put it on a petition and say, listen, I want to know what's going on here. And this is how this all started, really.
I mean, with the limited time that we have today in any way, what are some of the things that would say alarmed you the most about the South African Football Association that you needed immediate answers to because you weren't quite understanding after looking into the way that they do things?
Well, the red flag that jumped out immediately was the significant turnover of CEOs, which is just not normal, and then also the significant turnover of vice presidents. You have 9 CEOs in 10 years, and you have 11 vice presidents. I thought that is a bit of a problem. Then you have your PwC that resigns. You mentioned, in fact, 2019. In fact, they resigned twice. They resigned. I only just found this out now. I only got the second resignation letter now, today. But even having the one resignation letter, I immediately went to the financial reports and I said, well, then who signed off on the 2019-2020 audit? And I saw it was another company. I thought, but that's strange. And now I see that in fact it was PwC who signed off on the books, who actually did the audit in 2019-20, but it was signed off by another company entirely. So how long did they have to actually do the audit? Did they restate the annual financial reports? These are the typical types of things that I picked up initially. And then, of course, there was the purchase of the Velile, this high performance center. All the documents that are associated with that make no sense whatsoever. The property was overvalued. It was, I believe, it was valued post purchase at 40 million. It was bought for over 65 million. There are all these numbers and all these figures floating around, and they just
so this is a building that is the property is worth just under over 40 million. That's the value of it post purchase, but it's registered as a building bought for over 60 million.
Correct, and then when you look at the municipal valuation, it's at 10 million. So
the same
and
building.
Then originally there were
municipal
figures of 30 million being thrown around. You've got to say to yourself, what is going on here? How was this authorized even? What was the governance processes that were followed prior to purchasing this property? Did it make any sense? And I think if you look at the pictures of the place, it's certainly not a high performance center. And now they're talking about 600 million to get it to where it's supposed to be. What kind of numbers are these? And where's this money coming from? Where's it going to come from when SAFA is in financial distress in the first place? No. All of these things are red flags, and they need to be looked at. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just produced this high-level report and said to these guys, listen, you really need to look at this. My main issue is that there is a criminal investigation. It is being carried out by the Hawks.
What is that investigation into? Is it into SAFA as a whole, or is it particular and straightforward?
No. Well, the NPA letter that is in the report, and the information that I have is that specifically the charges against Danny Jordan and the CFO for mismanagement. Danny Jordaan has signed a warning statement. I think Groni Schluyo is trying to avoid that at all costs. But these are specific charges where you have the principal accused is Danny Jordaan himself. And I'm saying, but if you have all these irregularities and these indicators, and there is a criminal complaint, surely the head of that organization should step aside while this matter is being investigated. It's very, very serious. There should be a forensic investigation into what is going on at SAFA, because there's obviously something off color. And pending that forensic investigation, you should have the people that are implicated directly, not by me, by the facts, stepping aside while the process takes its course. We have the step-aside rule. We're throwing at politicians and the rest of them. We can't have double standards. So I think the same should apply to SAFA. I don't see what the problem is, and I don't see why SAFA won't answer the questions that have been posed to them, and instead respond by wanting to charge me with criminal defamation and all kinds of nonsense. Yeah, so that's where we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. Good evening, Bart. It's Velile here. I just want to follow up on the issue of the warning statement that I also read today that Dr. Jordaan has signed. What does it mean now for the progress of this case in terms of finally going to court?
Yeah. Well, essentially, the MPA now have to decide whether they're going to formally charge Danny Jordaan. And obviously, with Groni Schluyo not having signed a warning statement, decide on what the best way forward is going to be in that regard, whether they're also going to just charge him or not. So now we wait upon the NPA to decide on whether they're going to press formal charges or not. But I don't think they would have got to the stage unless the investigation had led in a direction where they believe there are charges that can be laid. But that'll come down to the NPA. Mm-hmm. But throughout this process, you can't investigate people for financial crimes while you leave. I mean, if the CFO is a suspect or is under investigation or is an accused, then you shouldn't be leaving them where they are, which is the gatekeeper to the financial records. Surely, it's just bad practice.
Yeah.
So the whole process is just strange. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at most of the allegations in your report, and some of them I've seen them because they've been also subject of submissions into FIFA Ethics Committee, which there's been no progress. What do you make of football tribunals that are out there that there are allegations of this nature which have never been investigated or even getting to that level? Because some of these allegations and even the submissions have been there for the past 3 to 4 years.
Well, exactly. I think I made the point earlier today when I was actually looking at this matter, because I do find that slightly confusing. But I actually made the point that at the end of the day, SAFA, when they're spending money, it's not their money. SAFA gets grants from FIFA. SAFA gets money from sponsors. And I asked myself the question, what was the effect of the rape charges against Danny Jordaan on sponsorships? Did it go down? Well, what is the impact of the conduct of the people that are running SAFA? What impact is that having on the bottom line? And even now, with the charges laid against me, who's paying for those charges? In fact, it's not SAFA paying for this. It is not SAFA at all. It is FIFA that is paying for the attack on myself, for instance. The defense of the rape charges was money that belonged to SAFA, that came from FIFA, used to defend Danny Jordaan. These are questions that must be answered. I didn't ask them. They're there. So ultimately, really what's happening here, which the public needs to understand, and you've raised a very interesting point, is that really everything that's been done to protect Danny Jordaan, Groni Schluyo, anybody else that might be involved in anything, and it's up to that forensic audit to decide whether they've done something wrong or not.
But let me ask you this, just because
that's paying for it is in fact FIFA's money. So FIFA and sponsors are actually, at some point, with them not acting, at what point do they become complicit?
Mm-hmm. But here's the legacy fund, which many South Africans look forward to that, enhancing the sports particularly football in South Africa, looking to put together some facilities, looking to leave, as the fund says, a legacy of sort. Does it anywhere state exactly how much has come in? And can we say, of the money that's come in...
I can, from the record, the financial transactions that I can see, I know that 600 million is reflected that I can see. That is between 2010 and 2013, well, 2010 and obviously when they wrapped up.
So then do we know what's happened to 600 million?
Sorry?
Do we know what's happened to the 600 million?
Well,
is it all accounted for?
There is a dearth of actual record minutes amongst those people that I have been able to talk to, former trustees, etc. There is very little in the way of minutes, financial reports, financial statements that you can actually get from trustees. And you would think that in terms of their fiduciary responsibilities, fiduciary duties, that they would have access to that type of information. There's very, very little. The type of question you're asking now is specifically why I put that report out there to say we need to find out what happened to the 600 million. Because, SAFA will say, and the trust can say, yes, the 600 million went to SAFA. But there's no break. How do you determine a breakdown if you don't actually have a financial? You can't see the financial statements. And that's all people are asking for. Let's see how this money was actually spent. Having a transfer of 100, or say 50 million from the trust to SAFA. SAFA says they want it for this or for that. That's fine. Okay, but let's trace it to the region. Let's trace it down to the ground. Where did it end up?
And that's something you do look up, because you do say there was money that was supposed to go to the regions, as downloaded or rather transferred in the way that you just say, but it didn't reach the regions.
Well, I mean, the regions have got to say whether they received the money. But I mean, do the regions even know whether that money was allocated to them and how much? And maybe it was, and it just didn't go where it was supposed to. We know how these things work.
Yeah, and amongst the
the big issue with the legacy trust for me is the fact that the legacy trust, when the trustees, when it was getting to the point where they were going to wind it up, requested the financial reports so that they could apply their minds and sign off. They found themselves removed from the trust, and they were supposed to have another meeting where they would get the annual financial reports. That's according to them. It was agreed that they would have another meeting when all the financial reports and the financial statements would be given to them. And before they could have that last meeting, they were removed from the trust. So they've never had
who removed them?
eyeballs on the final reports, financial reports or statements.
Removed by who, though, Bart? Do we know who removed them? The trustees?
I know who they say removed them, and I know what I think I know what the record shows, but I think it's one issue that I should tread warily with.
Okay, perhaps in the way that I ask you, I should ask you this: from the people that you've spoken to, who do they say removed them?
Excuse me?
I'm saying perhaps I should phrase it differently as well here. From the people that you've asked, who do they say removed them?
Danny Jordan.
Who was chairing the board?
I don't know, but remember, I think he was the chairman at the time as well of the FIFA Legacy Trust. But there's the letter from one of the trustees, because FIFA also had trustees on
the board,
in the Legacy,
as well as government.
And Adiichi sent a letter, a strongly worded letter, to SAFA and also to FIFA to say that these trustees, including the chairman, must be reinstated prior to it being wound down, so that they could apply their mind to these financial records that they needed to. So it was highly irregular that these people were removed from the trust without having access to the financial records.
So if you're saying all of this to me,
a bone of contention. Sorry?
I'm saying I'm listening to all of this, and then in my head, then I'm wondering how things are being run at SAFA, because it sounds like there's an executive president.
Excuse me, this sounds like?
It sounds like there's an executive president.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure how it works, but yeah, it appears like it's almost a fiefdom. I mean, and then the question is how does this happen at the end of the day? I have a few other questions. I mean, I can't understand when I looked at the number of NEC members, and I'm like, there's 47, 48. How many are there?
Yeah,
how many employees? There's 60. You have
I think 59. Yeah,
it's the same as having a company. A Sasol, let's take that for instance, and you have almost as many directors as what you have employees. It's crazy, and that costs money as well. So I think if you surround yourself with a lot of people who are getting paid, good stipends to be, whether they attend meetings or not. I think you sort of have a lot of loyalty, I suspect.
But this is only us scratching the surface of this. We are going to go a little bit more in depth of it. And when we do, we'd love to have you on as we really dig into what's going on in South African football from a management point of view. And it's the body that is in charge of all things football. Thank you so much for talking to us. And we'll be in touch and speak to you perhaps even later on this week.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. Good evening, mate.
It is forensic investigator Bart Henderson who's released a report into the South African Football Association and its management and how they've managed their funds and how they look at, looking into 600 million. Mm-hmm. And what's happened to 600 million? Jeez.
Hey, Andile, good evening, Boswaga. Hey, Andile, I want to talk about 4 things, Mzala. Andile, Karma Billiat, what he's doing is unprofessional. It shows doesn't take his career seriously. Kapinga, kakupela masandawan, samreki, sarolani. That guy still have a lot to offer. He's got talent. Good luck and all the best. Congratulations to Mapoko Poko. Negelida Andile Gibone, Winne Munati. Kusho Andile, Manya Pitora CBD.
Andile, Mzuyingosi here. I think now from my side, I already conclude go to Kama Billiat will not renew or will not stay in Kaizer Chiefs. If you look at how Kaizer Chiefs signed him, it is exactly how they are losing him. Billiat pulled the same stance. May not be exactly the same, but he pulled the same things when he wanted to leave Sundowns. Until his contract ended, he ended up at Kaizer Chiefs. So I don't see Billiat at Kaizer Chiefs next season.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Andile, and all Metro FM worldwide. Our Springbok walloping Australia, and on the other hand, New Zealand beating Argentina. Our Springboks are a hard nut to crack. These boys are playing very well. They are the Springboks indeed.
Hey, Thank you.
Thank
you very much. I appreciate it.
Exe Andile, Jimmy Mago de Bizo na Motse le para hareng ha mapara. Le para hareng ha mapara. Le para hareng ha mapara. Andile, bona Kaizer Chiefs me bara e sign the best players e fela me bara. Season e me bara ro compete le yona Mamelodi Sundowns. Ro tswa le yona head to head me bara. Jenny Jordan me bara diskolo thonetsa di to mosala morao sa wara ka ena Jerry Jordan. Diskelo thonetsa di to mosala morao Jimmy Mago de Bizo na Motse be thank you ma.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Usiso so wakhumala wona ngoma esigubuthu
yebo
if iChiefs yahluleka ukuthi ihlale phansi no
Kama
Billiat, please ayimdedela hambe le mali ebezomsayina ngayo ayilandena ngokapinga siyayibona imlinga yenzayo usangasenzela izinto eziningi ngokapinga umdlalo esimdingayo kahle kweChiefs uBilliat yes une-experience kodwa akungake sibona akwenzayo njengamanje
Nkapinga is a free agent
so ngoba naye akasafuna ukuzicommit abamdedela hambe
Malcolm, give me one more.
Thank you ma
I want to take the calls now.
Now the week this issue with SAFA, but by snack because at the end of the day, they cannot come up with the same excuse Havana Zaga, whereas FIFA in the Bafanda Chedet. But no, men say Camille Babu and Nature by Zanka Chedet, but now couldn't to me. by snack chelete bathuba
By snack.
eating this money so rona se re rekisetswa taba ileng gore ha iyo kaofela mo wantshwa.
Thank you. I appreciate that one.
Great show as always.
No, man, it's time to take a calls now before Faith comes in. She comes in between 7 and 9 o'clock, but after 8, that's when she shines brightest, if you ask me. But then after 8. Dixon is out. Dixon.
Andile, how are you?
Yeah, are you?
And the guest there in studio.
Vecha?
Yeah,
Andile, we in South Africa will never get things right. As long as we've got two associations of football, is the PSL and SAFA. They don't see eye to eye. They don't meet. They don't plan anything. SAFA is also being sabotaged so that they cannot get sponsors. This other one is sabotaging the other one. Even in the PSL, that guy who was investigating, he must go into the PSL. We need to know how come DSTV is the referee and is the player at the same time. How does that happen? We have to be frank, Andile. We have to go deeper into this. ETV, they're trying to buy the rights. They can't get it. SABC is struggling. But DSTV is getting sponsorship and television rights. How is that possible? How do you do that, Andile? It's not only SAFA, Andile. We cannot say it's only SAFA. SAFA speaking advantage, everything is falling apart. They are doing their thing there. This side, people are getting bonuses from after they're getting 12 million, 7 million, but they owning the team also. They take people who are owning the team, they make them CEO. They take someone who said, hey, there was someone who tried to give him a bribe when he was a referee. They take him, they make him manager of the PSL. Where are we going as a country, Andile? This man should go to the PSL also. The PSL is the worse than SAFA even.
Wow.
Worse.
Dixon, outcome Klanga. Thank you so much for that one. Let's take Bongeleni out in KZN. Bongeleni.
How about tomorrow?
Hey.
All right, what?
No, man, I'm good.
Ngishapo.
Ngena kuyona.
Ngifuna nje ukukhuluma ngebafana bethi le dlala kwiCOSAF. Lesibusisa ngebhola la eThekwini. Ngibukile on Saturday and I watch game yabo le uqala ka1-1. Ngithi they are slowly gaining momentum.
Baqala ukudlala bonke ukhumbule.
And most of the players, they are clubless now, and then logo kuzoba affect ukuthi ngiyadlala la uma ngiqeda la ngireporta kuphi for i-pre-season yabona.
Nayi njalo ngiyavumelana nawe indlela enhle ukuthi bayidayise.
And ngicabanga ukuthi umdlalo wakusasa iwona abazokwazi ukuthi bawubambe ngendlela because umdlalo wokugcina egroupini yabo I think they will do well. We'll go to kwamashu siyoba support abafana. Abasiphoqa ngemlaza sithemba ukuthi nakamashu bazophinde benze kahle.
Thank you Sibongeleni. Thulani is out in Green Village. Thulani.
Hey,
khuluma nami gibeli hamba.
How are you, man?
I know, good man.
So good. Hey, I'm pleading to the Pirates chairman to get us Liserica Binga, man. I'm pleading, man.
Hey, it looks like everybody wants Liseri.
Yeah, but the guy he was supposed to come to Pirates and Sundowns overtake us.
There's another soda.
Yeah, so the chairman must go talk to this guy and bring him back. With Hamilton, I think even if we can leave Mercedes or go to Ferrari, they're gonna go make that car slow so that it doesn't get to 8.
Why? Why do you think that? Why do you think it's because do you think it's the conspiracy that he's black and therefore they don't want him to overdo what Michael Schumacher did?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Go past Schumacher. Andile.
Very quickly.
My guy. Quickly, sorry to waste your time. Yeah?
Never a waste. Talk to me.
When I first called your show, my guy, I wanted your attention because I had something to talk to you about. I wanted to make you big. You're big already, but I wanted us to make history, me and you, in football. Can you kindly do me a favor?
Okay.
Just give me like 5 minutes, 3 minutes of your time after your show.
Cool. Timmy's going to take your number down.
Allow Timmy T to maybe take my numbers or maybe can give me your numbers.
I'm going to send you back to Timmy T right now. Timmy T, take the call. Tulani out in Green Village. He's been a listener of the show for a very long time. He's a blind man who enjoys his sport. On the PSL versus SAFA conversation that we had with Dixon a little bit earlier, it took me some time because I needed to think about my answer to that one, Dixon. And I agree with you. Everything and everyone, even us here at the SABC, etc., everything needs, a fine comb to go through it. The one thing about the DSTV Premiership, yes, you might have issues here and there, But that's a functioning product, isn't it? It is a product that is functioning. It is a product that is still worthy of getting so much money invested into it by the outside world, which is now the private sector. That's the one thing that the DStv Pressure has been able to do. They've been able to withhold this product, and they've been able to, season after season, regardless of what you feel about some seasons on the field, but they've been able to keep it running and running professionally and well. It's a conversation we can have another day.
Yeah, and also to educate.
Very quickly, you have 10 seconds even.
There's one association, that's SAFA. PSL is a special member of SAFA.
That's it. We're out of here. For myself, the lights, camera, action, True, led by David today, and Jip as well. I see you. No more this. Pella. Nanso me.